Welcome back to One Shot, One Quill, a tabletop podcast where we workshop adventures by us for you, free of charge. I am one of your hosts, Spencer. With me is also Ben. Ben, say hello.
I'm Ben. I'm the other host.
We're also joined by, once again, by a great guest of ours, wonderful guest of ours, by the name of Jack. Jack, say hello.
Thanks, Spencer. Hi, everybody. I don't deserve such praise. I wasn't that great. I just kind of sat around.
Well, you better live up to it, or it's the last time you come on. So
my God. Okay. Let me get my top hat and dancing shoes out.
Ben, do you want to get some of the finer details of this show out there? The legal disclaimer for everybody?
Yeah. We take suggestions from the audience. We roll some dice. We take the numbers on those dice that correspond to both a plot for a one-shot and some items for that one-shot to incorporate. And then we bing bang bosh, throw that all into a big pot of stew.
Gumbo.
Now, this is brainstorming. I feel like we should mention that. We're not generally laying out the dungeon structure and the enemies you're going to fight. It's a jumping off point for other people.
We call it the bones. Yeah, it's really the bones of an adventure. We want to get you thinking, most importantly.
We have 3 people sharing one quill, and when it runs out of ink, it's up to you.
Ben, I think any good adventure is going to start with a premise, right? So why don't you roll me a D5 off of our remaining items?
Plots, but...
Well, I meant list items. You always do this.
Hey, let's stop arguing.
Oh, no. My parents are fighting again.
We've got company.
I don't know who's going to pick me.
And then we can go our separate ways. I rolled a 3.
I get Jack in the divorce. 3.
I don't wanna.
The population of women in an impoverished town is quickly dwindling as families trade away their daughters to hags in order to support the remainder of their family. Relatedly, the local hag population is steadily increasing. One girl reaches out to an adventuring party because her 16th birthday is approaching, when she would become a hag, and she wants to break this curse.
Straightforward. Very straightforward fantasy premise.
Yeah, very much so. Incorporates hags, a type of monster that I know I love. Now, hags, those are an interesting gaggle for those that may not be familiar with tabletop or traditional folklore hags.
Spencer, a group of hags is actually called a haggle.
That's the first fact I was going to say, is that a group of hags is a haggle.
So the title of this campaign is going to be Haggle Rock, right?
No, we're not doing the title yet. You got to save that for the end.
Oh.
No, it's definitely Haggle Rock.
It will be Haggle Rock, but we'll loop back to that.
So we have a haggle, a group of disheveled crones who hate one another. The important thing about hags, all cannot fucking stand one another. And definitely their best aspect. Just catty bitches through and through, even to their own. And these hags need each other to survive. That's the most important part, is their magic only works when they're in groups together. So if one of the weakest links breaks, you've basically defeated the whole haggle, excuse me. I almost said a completely stupid word, coven. I don't know where that was in my head.
That doesn't make any sense.
Why would you apply that to hags?
But we got a town that's basically held hostage by a hag mafia. Kids are being sold off to the hags, and the hags, they're growing in numbers, so who's going to say no to them? Ben, I'm curious, what are 2 other things we can add into this soup?
Yeah, because right now our little group of adventurers might have some trouble, so I'm thinking we should give them a 16.
Okay, 16, a holy sippy cup, which...
Hold on, what?
Get it out. You can do it.
A holy sippy cup, which rapidly de-ages the drinker into a talking baby.
Are we going to do the caveat we have done for previous drinking items, which is it only works once?
Yes, they only work once. I definitely, let's put that out there right now. God, I do love that off of the list of suggested items we have, which, let's peel the curtain back, Jack made these and sent them to us before he knew what the show was. That we've more than once now have done an episode where we basically get an item that is the antithesis of another item we've used in another episode.
I think we need, with this item being in the game, the caveat of the girl who doesn't want to, be turned into a hag also has hidden the treasure, because otherwise the easy solution is just, on your 16th birthday you get turned into a hag. Well, do you want to drink from this sippy cup?
That's exactly what it should be used for.
I agree.
Keep her from turning into a 16-year-old.
Ben, it sounds too on the nose, and I hear what you're saying. But there's also, in the vampire game featuring vampires, there's also a weapon that's literally called the Sun Sword. So sometimes you gotta be on the nose to really find a solution.
Here's a question. Is that what they're going for? The other thing that the hags have is a little sippy cup that de-ages people. And so one of the solutions is you grab that sippy cup and you give it to the girl.
Yes, I think that is one of your easiest solutions. It may not be the one she wants. She was sold into haggitude. I don't think she
it's
wants
an
to be
easy
here.
solution. I think that the hags have the cup. So you got to at least get into the haggle and then get the cup. But what we need, Spencer, is a second item.
Yes.
I think what you should do is tell me what number 47 corresponds to.
Number 47 on this list of suggestions. I remember I loved this one. A giant gnome simply known as, quote, the garden gnome. Garden like muscle. Garden like a bodyguard. The garden gnome.
Is that gonna help?
Jack's not done yet. It does not attack. It simply guards whoever pays them the 2 gold a day. It has an AC score of 30.
Okay.
There's a caveat that please feel free to change at DM's discretion. And I may consider lowering it from the AC of a fucking Tarask, but...
Both of these, the one is a person. If we had more time, I would also want to delve into the fact that we have been given a person as an item. But... both of these seem like potential solutions. Either you give the girl the 2 gold a day gnome that can't be killed and will just sit and guard you, or you turn her into a baby.
Well, okay, it almost becomes a mission after you use the items, though, if you think about it. If you turn her into a baby, foiling the hag's plot, they're going to be angry and want to take her by force anyway, and they'll just wait for her to turn 16 again. So you have to guard the baby from an onslaught of hags.
Wouldn't a coven of hags that already technically own this girl by the rules of the town just be like, well, we'll take a baby. We've got tons of shit we could do with a baby, too.
I think once they turn 16 is when they could finally convert them into a hag.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's what they're going to do with it. I think they're going to do the weird thing that happens in that movie, The Witch, where they turn themselves into busty young women.
Yeah. Yeah, the Vivitch really did change baby lotion.
It's a good question to raise. I wonder, is our goal here going to be another sort of like the Secret Tower? Are we going to make it such that the whole enemy is not one you can defeat with combat, but one that you have to outsmart and escape?
I think you've got to outsmart them in some way, because there is no way, if these are low-level adventurers, that they're taking on a full haggle of hags.
The only way you beat a hag coven is you reduce them to... Excuse me. The only way you defeat a haggle,
come on,
is to reduce them to the catty old women that they are. So long as one member of the coven is incapacitated, the coven magic stops working. Say incapacitated, say killed, say turned into a talking baby.
Oh, you're suggesting turning a hag into it.
I'm saying that could be a way we do it. That could be one of the items that if we nullify one of the hags, the whole coven is reduced in strength. That could be your way to finally defeat them and liberate the town. The only problem there is this is described as a fairly large, it's growing larger and larger all the time because they've had a stranglehold on this town for so long.
Yeah, how many hags are there?
Do we want to let the dice decide?
We can do that.
When in doubt.
Which dice do you want me to roll?
I'm thinking just like a standard village of say 100 people, say it's 25 families. So 46. Roll 46.
46. We got a big total of 16. That's a big haggle.
That's a lot of haggles.
Haggle. 16 hags is a lot of haggle. That thing's gonna fall apart on its own anyway. That thing is one argument from ending tomorrow.
Maybe one of the solutions is just if you're all pretty good at stealth, you just sneak in there and you're like, hey, did you hear that Melinda's been talking shit?
If you also just, if you sit at the table and make your dungeon master just sit there, wait around for you guys to come up with something, if you wait for 24 hours... you win the game. Hi, I'm Hideo Kojima. Welcome to my tabletop adventure.
I think that's an important caveat for all one-shot, one-quill adventures.
You can wait them out.
If you filibuster your DM for 24 hours, you automatically win.
If you think about it, it's one shot, and that was your one shot to defeat the DM. He couldn't get in a word in edgewise. You've succeeded.
He's only got the one shot to run it.
He's powerless without us.
That's
We're
the
staging
other
a walkout.
important caveat of this show, which is if you do run these, you can only run them once. You get one shot at it too.
So we've got a haggle that consists of 16 hags and a sippy cup that's going to de-age anyone down to a baby, and the garden gnome. Is the garden gnome currently employed by the chief, the chief hag?
I think the garden gnome is currently employed by the hags, for sure.
Okay. And so, like, if we buy them out with 3 gold per day,
now
they'll flip.
I think the thing is that if the party tries to fight the garden gnome, then they're sure to lose. So I think that the solution for the party may be, hey, let's try to buy off this gnome, because clearly this gnome is not actually part of the haggle. It's just guarding things, and maybe he'll take some money instead of killing us. And they're like, how much do you want to be paid? And he's like, I don't know, 3 gold. Or he doesn't even tell them. They have to offer, but anything more than 2. That's funnier to me. They have to give the gnome an offer, but he will take anything more than 2 gold.
He won't take any less either.
I'm not doing it unless you pay double what I'm getting paid. Now you gotta tell me what you get. You gotta guess. You got one guess. If
You gotta make the offer.
Now, I
if you
actually...
get it wrong. If you overguess it, I will be offended.
I have a potential idea that you could also throw towards the hags. Because this is almost like a setup for, you got a sippy cup that could turn somebody into a baby. I'm almost thinking, give him the sippy cup, turn him into a little child, still AC 30, because it doesn't say anything about changing his AC or anything like that. Tell the hags that they can have this girl if they could successfully hurt this baby. They'll all cackle, be like, oh, this is a simple trick. Go over and they'll flick the baby, and it's just sitting there, taking it, not attacking back or anything. And they start to get frustrated that they can't kill this baby. And that's what sets them off.
Jack, can I say that the one thing that I do not miss in life is the idea of being your DM when you come up with these insane ideas that I don't know how to address. I mean, sure, they could do that. That sounds like a solution.
It sounds like almost the only solution if you think about it, Ben. Because how would you kill an AC 30 baby? That would drive any hag insane.
I don't know. Throw it into 2 feet of water, Jack. Babies don't float.
In this scenario, do they already have possession of the garden gnome when they go to liberate the child?
I almost want to, like, in my head, the garden gnome is he's a part of the party in my head, so obviously this would not work if he was employed by the hags. I just thought it'd be really funny to mention the AC 30 baby.
Because you could just give him the sippy cup and then he's a baby, and what's he gonna do? Apparently, you could just pick him up and you can't kill him, but you pick him up and you're like, hey, hags, you want this baby? Too bad you have to kill it first. You can't hit it.
The idea is to set up a riddle for them to solve, and the hags will all think they're, intelligent enough to figure out how to kill the baby. You mentioned drowning it, which I don't think AC 30 protects you from drowning. So
Yeah, there are a couple things
you're
that AC won't do anything. If they lob a fireball at the baby's dead.
I'm saying this sippy cup gives you immense power, and there's a lot you can do with it.
It's not foolproof. I would say here's the thing about the garden gnome. I think it's perfectly employed by the hags because a hag is a spellcaster. They're perfectly competent at dealing with blows from rival spellcasters. Spellcasters are great at handling other spellcasters. What they're not good at is the ones that run and hit them really, really hard. Therefore, what better item for them than the garden gnome?
So the party gives him the sippy cup and drowns him as a baby, is what you're saying, Spencer.
Jack, nobody's saying that but you, and we're really worried about you.
What are our other solutions here? So we've got, you could turn one of them into a baby. You
Yes.
return basically, it seems like getting the sippy cup might just be the solution because we've determined that turning anyone else into a baby does work.
Here's something I think could be, here's an angle we could approach. The sippy cup could be what they use as a punishment for some of the rebellious hags in training that they've taken on. They got nothing but time in the world and they got an infinite supply of girls. So what is a worse punishment than, Ben, if I walked up to you and said, hey, you broke the law, I'm turning you into a middle schooler again. Enjoy. What is worse than that? You're petrified with fear because there is nothing.
I have no answer. You are correct.
So I think maybe the hags have that among their repertoire of evil, sinister monkey paw items. The chief hagstress, who we will call
Haggis.
Hagatha.
Hagrid, is utilizing a whole menagerie of magic employ. You have the sippy cup that she punishes insolent children with. That's why we're gonna have like a playpen full of infants in there. Even though the youngest girls that are being stolen from the village are like 15, like 14 or 15. Bottom line, have it stick out that there's like infants in this playpen. Let's see here. They're also talking babies. That was established. They're talking babies. So they can vocally rebel. Just not physically.
Babies will do regardless. I don't know if you've met a baby.
Okay. Vocally rebel, yes. Articulately rebel, no. Which these babies can do. I'm going to say they're articulating babies, not just talking.
We've gone so off the rails.
I beg to differ. We have formulated...
Spencer, tell me how this playpen of babies incorporates
That helps establish that Hagatha is carrying around an item that would be beneficial to steal off of her.
All right, I see what you're saying. It's a clue.
It's a
also,
clue.
Hagatha, Hagrid, and Haggis are all hags.
I think you're going to have a solution, like you're going to run into an encounter maybe where Hagatha's in the middle of trying to force feed someone this fucking bottle, and she's, something distracts her, maybe a player distracts her. She sets that bottle on the table, she goes to inspect, bam, you got your opportunity to steal it from her.
Is one of the solutions just offing Hagatha?
I mean, yes. Okay. She's part of the coven. I'd say the coven is... Given that hags fucking hate each other so much, I feel like there are really only 3 hags in this coven. The rest have been infantized. 13 other infants running around. As well as some other girls that aren't aged up, let's say.
These are...
Like the 15-year-old.
Let me just say, very bad hags.
Oh, but that's how hags do.
They've gotten this bottle that turns... They've managed to turn 13 of the 16 hags back into babies.
I think that actually works,
hags
though.
Are their own worst enemies.
That is a terrible success rate.
They are their own undoing.
Maybe the solution is just to make the hags use the bottle on each other. You serve them all dinner, and all of them have this sippy cup bottle, and they all drink out of it.
Could you transplant the water into another vessel?
No, that defeats the purpose of having it only be able to be used once.
It's specifically the sippy cups tip that gives you the power.
Just the tip?
Just the tip.
The one thing I was thinking is you're setting up the fact that like the 3 main hags are turning all the lesser hags into children. Maybe they know that if they start quarreling with one another, their power gets weaker. So what better way to thin the herd than to turn the lesser hags into these little babies? It gives you the party the opportunity to maybe discuss with the baby hags, maybe join up with them and
can the baby hags
free the playpen of babies and then kind of have a baby war against the hags, because that's fun. I like a comical one shot. Having a little baby war would be great.
If the babies are articulate, can these baby hags, or as they are obviously known, bags, can these bags go and cast spells at the hags?
Only verbal. They can only do verbal because they're not going to have access to anything material or somatic, because they can't do the hand gestures with their little nubs.
Okay.
So like maybe you can do a baby jailbreak, and if you can grab their spellcasting focuses or something like that, then they can do verbal and material spells.
That I love that.
So we've gone to the solution is jailbreaking the babies.
There's so many solutions.
I think we've shown that this concept, this very simple And just adding this one unique yet absolutely ridiculous item is enough to make anything just interesting. We've come up with a whole bunch of different ideas. There's also a giant gnome over here that we've been using.
This one is not plot heavy. This is a very open-ended campaign. You just throw at your players and you say, you figure it out.
It is absolutely a sandbox.
Maybe we should bring it back to that name.
Spencer, ask me what the title should be.
Do I have to?
I mean, if we're going to pretend like we didn't say it earlier, because I fucked it up.
Yeah, I mean, we can pretend all we want. Jack, what's the name?
Well, I think it only fits to call it Haggle Rock.
Yeah, I naturally agree, because that's the first time I'm hearing that.
I don't know.
And I didn't bust a gut hearing it the first time.
Just cut the laughter from earlier. I'll be fine with that.
Do we want to just spitball some other things that we could throw Hag in, like Aggro Hag, Nickelodeon's Aggro Hag,
Hagatha Christie in the Case of the Missing Girls, Sour 16. That could be another one.
I think Haggle Rock : Sour 16 is the title.
No, I'm thinking Haggle Rock or Machine of Pigs 2.
I think
we could not.
I think it needs a subtitle just because I like the idea of Haggle Rock so much that I want to be able to revisit it in the future.
You're saying we've developed our own setting. This is a campaign setting for future shots.
We'll return to Haggle Rock will return.
We'll run
Haggle
the one
Rock
shot.
Sour 16. I love it.
We'll run the one shot, and then like 10 years later, we'll rename it Haggle Rock Episode 4 and just keep going from there.
In episode 100, when we have to play it out where all of these campaigns happen in one contiguous world, they will all be centered around Haggle Rock. Jack, what do you have to promote?
Well, Spencer and I have this alternate podcast. I don't know why I said alternate, like this is a fucking pick one or the other. Just choose your own adventure.
Sophie's choice.
This one's mainstream. Yours is alternate.
Spencer and I have this podcast where we talk about music production. It's called Blunderphonics, and specifically we talk about albums with troubled history. So we often listen to a lot of classic albums like Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask Replica. I give him some information about how that album was made, the insane conditions that this music was created in, and then we kind of share our own opinions about what we thought. Typically, it's something that I absolutely love, even if it's inaccessible. And Spencer tells me how much he wishes we never do this podcast.
But Jack, I've never listened to music. Is this podcast for me?
It's perfect for anybody because it's not really 100% a history podcast. It's me and you just having fun, Spencer. It's very much rooted in comedy. Anyone can just sit down, listen in. It's a great time, and we never do it.
It really, really is.
Do you want to take the outro?
Yeah, we want to thank our theme song, which was written by a Italian man who Ben can pronounce very well. Ben?
His name is Morgan Labard. The song is Alla Tavera del Guglier. We should plug our Twitter since I assume this is going to be happening near the end of the batch that we've recorded.
That's a fact. You can tweet at us with any suggestions to @DNDpod. DND is in the letters. There's no ampersand, no and in the middle there.
And if you want to be convenient and nice, you could indicate whether or not it's intended to be a prompt or an item.
Do whatever you have to do. Put prompt in big block letters at the front.
Yeah, just put prompt at the beginning. I don't care.
Yeah, just be nice, but also do it. But also definitely do it. And tell
Absolutely.
your friends to do it. And tell Jeremy Crawford to endorse us at Wizards of the Coast.
If you are Jeremy Crawford or whoever owns DM's Guild, we're willing to shill you for free.
You can also come on. You can come on, but you have to understand that this is our show.
Now,
okay.
Also we should point out this is only for Jeremy Crawford or whoever's at DM's Guild that wants to do it. None of the rest of the audience can come on.
Until you win the sweepstakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did.
Like Jack did.
We come out every Tuesday.
Review us on iTunes if you can. That would help us get a little traction for our launch here.
Sorry about the sleepover energy on this one. That's what happens when you record 2 in a row.
Loosey-goosey, that's what I call it. All right, guys. Arrivederci.
Sassafras.
Cool.